Leaping lizards. I'm Paul Olson. I'm Professor of Earth and Environmental Sciences at Columbia University in the city of New York. Today we're going to be watching some clips of dinosaurs in Hollywood. A wonderful Carnotaurus that gets obliterated by a T-Rex. Now, Carnotaurus is interesting because it's one of the few dinosaurs that are very large, for which we have significant impressions of its skin. So the facial ornamentation on that, and the short face, and those absurdly tiny arms that make the T-Rex arms look large is accurate, as far as we know. They probably would not have gotten along well, so that's probably fairly accurate.
It's a dinosaur.
That, of course, was a Brachiosaurus from Jurassic Park, and apart from its size, which is larger than it should be, it's pretty good in its overall proportions. They almost certainly could stand up to browse in the higher trees.
This thing doesn't live in a swamp.
Were probably mostly naked because they didn't need any kind of feathery coating for insulation. They had trouble actually losing heat, and they had an air sac system which helped them lose that, which, by the way, made them a lot lighter than you'd guess from their size. I'd give it a 6 out of 10.
Honey, I'm home.
That, I guess, was supposed to be something like an anthropomorphized T-Rex. Wrong number of fingers, everything about it's wrong. Of course, it's not meant to be in any way accurate. Pretty silly looking. So those are the tiny Compsognathus. The reconstruction of them shows them completely naked. By 1996, we knew that that particular group of dinosaurs was completely covered in fur-like feathers. So they would have been cute little things instead of being rather snaky little things like they look there. Why dinosaurs always have these, if they're small, squeaks, and if they're large, rah sound, I do not know. Being related to birds, they probably had a whole repertoire of sounds that they could make. Attacking larger prey in groups is certainly plausible, but not really when you're that small.
Hey, you okay, kid?
It's hard to know what to say about that. They look a little bit like they're made out of Play-Doh and bear no resemblance to anything that ever lived.
Betty, exactly where did you get those eggs?
An interesting semi-accuracy in that particular clip was the fact that no matter how big the dinosaur was, there was a maximum size to the eggs. So the largest known dinosaur eggs ever found are about that big. They don't get any bigger because the strength of the eggshell isn't sufficient to support a larger egg, so it would break very, very easily. And of course the roar is the usual roar, dinosaur roar that we hear over and over, just changing in pitch, not in character, depending on the size of the dinosaur. These are really famous among paleontologists. They took iguanas and they glued sails onto them. Then they just kind of run around. They're just lizards. It is true some dinosaurs had actual sails, and it's not clear exactly why they had that, but all of the true dinosaurs that had such sails were bipedal, not walking on 4 legs, and the only animals we know that had big sails and walked on 4 legs were not dinosaurs at all.
No. Call for help.
In the Jurassic Park franchise, they almost started to get the dinosaurs right. In this clip, we see velociraptors with a little frill of quills on their heads, moving kind of in direction of feathers, but then they abandoned those in later versions of Velociraptor. Having brains nearly on the level of organization of birds, they probably did have sophisticated communications with a very large range of sounds, probably even more than shown there. Could they be confused with other sounds? Sure, why not? Modern birds can be confused with sounds, dinosaurs could be confused with sounds too. Whether that would stop them from eating you if you were hungry? Maybe not.
We did it! We did it together!
The Great Valley was all they dreamed it would be. A land of green, of leaves, and life.
Dinosaurs didn't live in one place, and they were just like birds. They lived absolutely everywhere. And, well, birds are dinosaurs, so that's an example of them moving everywhere. We're pretty sure they even lived in very cold climates, not just in the tropics, and of course not just with the volcano in the background, but they would have lived everywhere and on different continents. The idea they would migrate to one particular place, there's no reason to ever think anything would do that kind of behavior. That is my favorite scene in all of the Jurassic Park movies. There are a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is that the Gallimimus they show, they look like living, real animals. And its descriptions of them as moving like a flock of birds was very lovely. I like that.
Just like a flock of birds evading a predator.
I like the way they leapt over them. They were a bit large for Gallimimus. Proportionally and in terms of their anatomy, they're really very good. That's my favorite part of the movie. That's how I end my dinosaur class. In the movies, it would be really helpful, even though they put people in the plot and they brought them to the present, if they gave more context, just build it into the story. Say things like, well, and back in the Jurassic when this thing was really alive, it wouldn't have done this. But when we rebuilt them from DNA, we added these features, just like that. No big deal. Say what's actually supposed to be going on and give it a little context.